What we're going to talk about is severance. We're in the world where you get a rating decision and VA has said, we're going to sever service connection. What we're not going to talk about is reductions. That's something completely different. That's when they're looking to lower a rating for a service-connected disability. Here, we're talking about when VA decides to completely take away your service connection. There are some situations where it is legal for them to do so. But before they're able to do a severance, there are certain strict legal and due process things that they need to go through before they can sever the service connection. So there's really only 3 ways in which VA can sever. So number 1 is fraud. It means that when you made that initial claim, you misrepresented the facts or what was going on with it. For some reason, the grant was illegal. I don't really know what that looks like in practice. I've never seen a severance come through for an illegal grant. But the one that we see the most is VA comes back and they want to sever based on a clear and unmistakable error in the original grant. So there is also a rule that helps protect veterans. So if you have been service connected for a condition for 10 years, VA cannot sever that condition unless it was done by a fraud, or if for some reason you don't have the requisite time in the military. So if it's 90 days, whatever it might be, they can take it away for that too. But after 10 years, you are protected. You're dealing with a proposed severance and they're coming to you and saying, hey, we're going to take this away. VA has to prove that their grant was based on a clear and unmistakable error. And again, that's a very high burden for them to do. So I'm going to give you some things to talk about when you get that severance and what they need to follow before they sever. First of all, the burden is on them. VA can't just come in one day and say, hey, we're going to sever that. They have to first give you a proposal to sever. And in that proposal to sever, it has to include things like the reason for the severance and the evidence they used for that severance. Once you get that proposed severance in the mail, you have 30 days to request a hearing and 60 days to submit additional evidence. So if you request a hearing, once you get that notice of severance or that proposal to sever, request a hearing, and then VA cannot at all sever that benefit until they've had that hearing with you. And you also have time to submit additional evidence before that hearing or up until they make a decision. Remember, a clear and unmistakable error is extremely hard to prove. It means that if 2 people look at the same file and the same evidence, they can absolutely say, we were wrong on that. An example would be they grant you aid and attendance at the LSMC for loss of use of your lower extremity, but you still have your lower extremity and it still works and you're still walking and someone just made a mistake. And you look at the record and you're like, no, that was completely wrong. We don't know why we assigned that rating to it, but that would also still be a reduction. See, it's really difficult to come up with things that are undebatably wrong. So keep that in mind. It's, again, a very, very high burden. Some things that we do and ways to kind of fight the severance is once you get that proposal to sever, go ahead and send in a hearing request. And the reason is they can't sever until they've had that hearing. It delays the final decision. So if you're getting compensation that's coming in, it'll kind of pause and have you still have that compensation coming in while VA is waiting to have that hearing. Also submit evidence, submit medical opinions, service records, prior favorable findings. Those are really going to help you. So by the time you get to that hearing, you have that evidence in the file for them to look at. And then you also want to kind of attack VA's argument. The biggest argument is what you said isn't a Q. That is not a clear and unmistakable error. If the evidence is debatable, it is not a Q. Or you can say that VA failed due process. The biggest thing is you really want to hit that if it's not a Q. Severance is one of the hardest things for VA to legally do. It's when they're saying, hey, we're taking away this benefit and this disability from you. And sometimes along with that goes the benefits that you've had because you had that disability. So keep in mind that if you've had a disability for 10 years or more, VA cannot sever it. Certainly make sure that you're requesting in a hearing, getting all of your evidence in once you get that proposal to sever, and make sure that when you're submitting that evidence, you're really hitting on the clear and unmistakable error language, because that's the burden that VA has to prove. They have to prove that, and most of the time it fails. If you've had a severance or you get a proposed severance in the future, don't panic. Just take a look at it and know that the law is on your side for this, and that it's actually very difficult for VA to take away that benefit.
Hey, Nate here, Hill and Ponton's video guy. The video you just watched is expanded on further in this one right here. Learn something more, increase your rating. As Matt always says, knowledge is power. So go ahead,